Hi, everybody. Welcome back. For the next 45 minutes, we've got Rob Cook. Rob's a former US member of the US Air Force, and I won't steal any more of his thunder than that. So over to you, Rob.
That was quick. Well,
Yours.
thank you, Dave. Man, first, just thank you again to Dave and Paul. I was saying before we tapped into the room how appreciative I am to be here today to share with you all for the next 45 minutes. So kudos. And then I was also picking with them for one hell of a dream team that I figured they put together with Judy, Aaron, and Leela, Brian, Brad, Offer, Dave, Bill, all of the speakers. So just being on that panel with them on this platform with them is just truly like super cool, and I love it. And it's kind of the basis of what I want to talk about for the next 45 minutes. Is kind of like how I fell in love with being human even after being clinically diagnosed with PTSD. It's kind of like Dr. Pettit mentioned in his talk, The Missing Link. And so from The Missing Link, there was another book that Sid wrote called A Second Chance. And so what I wanted to do was, from The Missing Link, talk about the second chance that this understanding has given me. So I'll start from there. So I won't go into mind, thought, consciousness per se, because it's been kind of said at some point throughout. But I'm going to start from giving the platform of understanding or experiencing mind, thought, consciousness. Here's what's on offer. Here's what's available. And that's the second chance that I received. And by doing that, what I want to do is give you, as we would say, a comparison. I want to give you a time in which I experienced PTSD and life without this understanding. And then I'm going to give you a quick story of some of the things that have happened to me with this understanding and how they shape. One other thing that Dr. Pettit said that I also want to say, I'm not asking you to believe me and to take this and run, and I'm not. I'm really just sharing with you what I saw in hopes that you could pull some from it, that gives you an opportunity to enjoy what it is that you do as much as I love living. And that wasn't always the case. And so in that book, The Second Chance, Sid dedicated the book, and I love it, but for a minute it stuck with me. I didn't understand it. And the dedication reads, "To humanity, in the hope that this book may help alleviate some of the needless suffering." And so for a while I was like, needless? Like, why would you say that, Sid? Needless. Like I got hung up on it because to me my suffering was real. It could see it. Say my pain was needless. That's minimizing it, see it? That's what I thought. Until it hit me. Saying needless wasn't minimizing my pain. It was pointing to it being optional. That's all. And it was like, whoa, wait, what? And it was like optional. And that just goes on to other spiritual teachings that I, could connect or whatever. But it really hit me that my suffering was optional. Again, driving back to the missing link with the understanding. So I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm in the South. And in the South, here in the U.S., that's a very racially driven or racially tense area of life. So I learned race relations from the side of the oppressed, or I learned it through the eyes of the victims, or whatever term you were going to use, the oppressed, the silenced, the marginalized. So that's how I learned to experience life, as if I was always going to have to be marginalized, looked at, this and that. So everything I saw about life started from this concept that I was less than already, no matter what. There was only a few places that I felt I was even. I was on a basketball court or a football field. Like, I didn't care where you came from. Like, you meet me in between these lines, I'm getting at you with my skills because I practice it. But I couldn't do much in the social world because of the work. I was a gang member. Not because I really wanted to, because it was a simple math equation. I can get my ass beat once by these four guys and have brothers to fight, or I'm gonna take a bunch of ass whippings for the rest of my life till I join. Like, it's just simple math. It was like, okay, I'm gonna take this first fight, and then now I got brothers. But what was so funny about it is they never really let me get into anything. They would always kind of just keep me to the side. Like, they could see something in me I couldn't, all along, which is kind of weird. I end up getting in a lot of high school trouble, didn't get the looks I want as an athlete. And so having few friends at my age at 17, 18 die due to the lifestyle we were living, my mom was just in panic. And so I had to do something to get out. Insert Uncle Sam. And for 21 years, I gave him everything that I had. For 21 years, it was my identity. For 21 years, it was everything that I thought life had to offer me. And it was a very coarse one. It wasn't smooth. It wasn't well at all. I had ups and downs. My job was protecting people, places, and things. So coolest thing I ever protected was a nuclear weapon. Like, really got a chance to touch a nuclear weapon. Coolest place was a large humanitarian airfield, which I had 75 people who worked for me. And our job was to make sure that the planes could land safely from the mortar attacks at the end of the runways, so that we have a central location to get in services and all the pallets of humanitarian food and stuff like that out to the area of responsibility in which we had. So that was pretty cool. And then the coolest person was Admiral William McCraven, who is the commander for Operation Neptune Spirit, the killing of Osama bin Laden. Well, once that happened, he became probably the most hunted person in the United States and abroad. And so he's given a protection team. And that happened at the time I was promoted, in which he became my source and I got the team. And boy, did I learn a lot on just being a human being from him. And I guess it's something into following or looking in the eyes of someone who's taking someone else's life for a cause. They just talk differently. You know, he didn't have this machoism, this toxic masculinity. It was as if he understood the preciousness of life, and it was always weird to me to understand. But now I see it. Now I see it. So, for me, PTSD began around 2010. It was my final deployment. Well, it wasn't supposed to be my final deployment, but it was. It ended up being my final deployment. I was getting at the height of my career. I was also at the height of my ego. But my shit didn't stink at this point in my life. I'd been highly decorated. I had some success. So, you know, this is setting a much further fall. But we were mortar attacked one particular night. And they were doing this process, what you call as a walk-in. And it's like the first mortar hits and the spotter looks to see where because the weapons aren't as centralized or as targeted as ours are. So, you know, they use different processes. So first one comes out and it hits, boom. And you could tell by the rumble. You could tell, you kind of feel the ground shake. A few of you all may know what I'm talking about. When you feel the ground shake close to you, you kind of know it's too close, but when it really starts shaking, you're like, ugh. So the first one was farther off than expected. Second one was like, okay. By the second one, we're starting to run to the bunkers. There's a third. And then there's a fourth. And the fourth goes, thud, nothing. But you hear the thump. And the reason we heard the thump is because it was probably within 150 yards from us. And it was live, launched into the ground, and wasn't too far from our bunker. And so I'm screaming, get all kind of explicits, get back. So we're running. We call it in, and I have to mark it. And so I am team lead, so I really could send anybody who's working for me out to do it. But the kid who lowest ranking, and I only use kid not to, you know, point down to him in a sense, but in just an age bracket of service of this was his first deployment. He was probably about 20 years old. And I could see the terror on his face to walk out and have to be within close proximity and put a flag around this explosive. so that no one else would go around it, so that we can come explode it and do what we need to do. And he was just terrified. And so I took the flag, and he was like, "No, Sergeant Cook, I got it. And I was like, "You're good. I got it." So I put the team back, and I go out, and I'll never forget walking up. It's overwhelming peace. I started crying, and at this point, I am macho as they come. Tears don't flow. Like, I've buttoned this thing up so good, tears don't flow. I've been to funerals and not one come down, but I can't stop this one, and I'm just confused. I'm I I I'm walking, and I hear it buzzing. I could see it, I could feel it, and I'm confused at this peace that's on me. And I drop the flag. I continue crying, and I hightail it back, And I couldn't make sense of it. And I got back, nightmare started, because I was on a humanitarian field. Anytime an ambulance, where I heard an ambulance for the last 7-8 months, meant that one of ours was done or close to it. It was like, we got about 3 hours to try to save his or her life and get them on to Germany. So when I got back, I stayed about a mile from the emergency room, local hospital. So every night, my ex-wife is hiding my weapons. I'm jumping up in a panic because I'm hearing these ambulances, like another, like, fuck, another soldier. Like, wait, like, okay, yeah. Just shake out of it, keep it moving, nothing else, right? Years pass, I get more and more numb to life, period. Meaning no vibration. Child being born, child dying, didn't matter. Just straight across. And I fought everyone who was telling me at this point that was a problem. And this is hindsight now, looking at the situation. This is the part of the story where I'm telling you, this is me now beginning to deal with my experience of PTSD without this understanding. So from that point, my life began to unravel. The darkest years of my life, as I call it. And now I'm faced at the point of arguing with the military and fighting, and them wanting to strip me of everything. I'm drinking from sun up to sundown. It's chaotic. And I just break. Just all breaks. And I remember crying myself to sleep because it was a weird feeling of me not wanting. It wasn't suicidal. The thought wasn't suicidal. I didn't want to die. I just didn't want to live life like this. And I didn't know what else to do with it. So I crumbled, and I kind of just was like, well, I got to do something. And so I started listening a little bit, and I guess you could say this is my wisdom. I started listening a little bit. So I did go to my PTSD counseling, and I did start going to AA, substance abuse, and all of that. And then for me, and I preface it by saying for me because there's good work that happens in those rooms. So, but my experience was when I walked out, I felt less than. I felt like I was worse off. Like I was going to always need something. Like, what if I'm in a spot where there are no rooms? Then I'm subject to falling back in this hole and my life going away again. It was just like terrifying. So I didn't have good experiences in any of the counselings and stuff that I went through because it all left me feeling less than, broken. So I, at this point, am really just suffering, but I'm done. I'm out the military, my honorable whatever retirement. They send me my stuff. I tell them, you keep your medals, you keep all the BS, just give me my retirement. And I had a lot of hostility toward them because I felt like they ruined my life and they should have had more services for me and blah, 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 this song I was telling myself. And by this point, I'm living in California, and my wife's friend invited us to a dinner party. And at that dinner party, I met my mentor, and he pointed me to this understanding through an intensive he was doing for some coaches he was certifying. And that was 2018 when I met Michael. Well, 2017 when I met him. 2018, I think, when we sat down and talked, and everything in my life changed. Like, I understood, and this is hindsight now, looking at the book, I understand the term needless now, because the suffering I had didn't have to be there. My personal biggest limiting factor of my life has always been the misunderstanding of who I am. Period. And when he pointed me to this, it gave me an opportunity to see I'm connected to a universal life form that has no limitations. And so that means I can't be broken. And if I'm not broken, then what's happening? And so, fast forward, I go through coaching, I'm learning, I'm deepening my understanding. I'm coming from a Lakers game a couple months ago. Boom, guy not paying attention to his lane, tips the front of my vehicle. I hit the median, front tire comes off, sparks goes in the vehicle, I go back into training. Sit down in the seat, relax, grab the bottom of the steering wheel. We know we've lost the wheel, stay into the medium. Why do I stay into the medium? Because it's a 5-lane highway to my right. If I don't, I go back helplessly unpowered, which is a vehicle that just doesn't have control, into now 5 vehicles. I put more people at risk, so I stay into the medium. Catch a couple barriers, things, truck comes to a stop. I can't get out though because I'm pinned to the wall. The lights, I can see the cars, and I don't know if everybody's been to Los Angeles, but I guess that don't stop because people, shoom, 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 cars still going by. I'm like, I'm on the side of the road. My truck is like spark. Ain't nobody gonna even stop. The one person to stop was the person that tipped me. He ran around, he checked his vehicle, he made sure he was good. He got back on, he hit the highway. I didn't understand there was a problem at this point. But here's what happened. I called 911. Not for help. That's the command center. So I'm like, the operator comes on. I was like, yes, ma'am. I said, there was an accident on such and such, such. I'm about this point far from this exit. The vehicle that was in front of me that chipped is this person. This is all I saw. She's like, slow down, slow down. I was like, ma'am, I got to get all this out because it was just, it was circling. This is how you give information so you can make strategic moves in what's going on. And she was like, okay, who's in the accident? I was like, I'm in the accident, but that's not important. Like, let me tell you all the details so we can make this move. And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, but you're not listening. He's driving away. All of this I'm going. So police finally shows up. They block off 2 of the 5 lanes so I can get out the truck. I'm in the truck. First cop comes up is a motorcycle cop. And motorcycle cops, they wear extra gear. So they're not and this is nighttime. This is the fire department. They come over. They're like, you okay? I'm like, I'm good. Like, let's just, let's handle this. I am acting as if I'm on scene for someone else. It's not hitting me yet. This is when everybody was kind of like, okay, he's good, but everybody kind of paused for a second. And what happened was the motorcycle cop was writing the accident report of whatever you want to call it out. And my registration, the paper form, got caught in the wind and went into the highway. And as he went to get it, I stopped him. And I was like, no, hold on, bro. Hold on. You got on too much gear. And I shot out into the highway, grabbed my registration, and I come back. I was like, man, you got on too much gear to be running out there like that. Don't do that. And he was like, you need to sit down. And I'm like, what? And it hit me. And that was the awareness piece right there. And I said, give me a minute. That crying came back. I walked over to the fire truck and I just put my hands on it. And I just talked to myself for a minute. You're not in Iraq. You're not even in the military anymore. You're in downtown Los Angeles and you were in a car accident. Good news, you got insurance and you're fine. Bad news, you gotta get a new vehicle and that sucks. Like that was just how I walked myself back in. And then I went back out and I told the guy I'm all right. Called my wife. I said, hey, I'm going to tell you a story when I get home. But no, I'm on my way home. Why? Because I don't want to sit out, with that drive coming on, she'd have been going, because I was okay. Difference in this time last time. The people that loved me said I should go get checked out. Now, I knew I was physically fine. But because part of my PTSD struggle was not being open to help, this time I accepted it. So what's wrong? We're going to get checked out. If nothing's there, then that's simply what the doctor's going to tell me. but that gave those around me relief. It was as if the love I had for myself, understanding who I am, was projected and it landed onto my daughters being okay. And then everybody was kind of okay with the scenario. And those are kind of like 2 points for me on the difference in my life with handling what I call PTSD or traumatic issues with the understanding without. One, I lost everything, crumbled in the floor, willing to not want to live life like this. And the other, although bad, I just had to get to the moment to recognize my well-being. And didn't make the situation not suck anymore, going without a car, rental car, all that. Didn't make that not. But I went through it knowing I was okay. That made it totally different to experience. And that's the second chance that I've been given. And if you ever heard me speak, most people say, man, it's because that's all I see right now. That's all I see is that I have a second chance to really show up. And every place I go, I try to leave what I understand about who I am. I'm light and love as I understand it now, what it makes sense to me now. And I just try to leave that. And I hope you can pull some from that. I hope you can. But I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to do some question and answers if that's okay with Dave. But I do have to give you an update. Sylvie, ever since, my friend, you have pointed out to me my road rage is a piece because I probably have been to all kind of motorcade trainings and stuff like that, and everybody else hasn't, has lowered my road rage. Hasn't taken it all the way away, but it has been lower, so thank you for pointing that out. Traffic is probably the thing I got weight on more than anything else. I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. And Sylvie pointed out, probably because you're a skilled driver who's been trained through all kind of stuff that, maybe that's why. It's kind of like, yeah, but no. But thank you, Sylvie. So I appreciate that, man. But yeah, let's open it up for questions and let's talk. Oh man, we're not gonna do this silence. That's not. No. I'll start calling you by name. If you don't know me, what we're not gonna do is sit here and talk or act like we're not fit to have a conversation. So that's what we're not gonna do. So if I could either call you or you could just go ahead and pop your camera on and start talking. But we're going to talk today, y'all, because that's what I'm here to do. All right, Sylvia, you up then? Maybe you started off then. Talk to me, man.
That's awesome to know that you've calmed down a bit. It's so easy though, isn't it? Like because it's a habit. It turns into a habit that you get angry.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to fly into it. But yeah, once this whole journey of this whole 3 principles thing for me has been like that light bulb where somebody just points something out. And you're like, right, yeah. And then the more I get into it, the more it's just, right, okay, so it's all on me. It's all on me. Yeah, but I love listening to you speak, man. It's brilliant.
I love you too, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's funny is if you keep on this experience, you'll have some weird experiences. The other day I was fussing at myself. I found myself having empathy for a butthole, and boy, was I mad at myself for it. Like, I was so angry at myself. Y'all don't know, it messed up my whole day. Well, not the whole day, but it messed up at least a good couple, 2-3 hours being mad at myself for having empathy, because all I could see from him cursing out this young lady was his suffering after I calmed down, after I got rid of my narratives and the stories I projected on what he shouldn't be doing, and that little girl is younger than my baby, and all the stories I told myself that had me ready to fight him now, ready to fight, to seeing his suffering and going, no, Robert, God dog it, God, just mad at that. That's what I'm talking about. Man, that inside out thing, when you wake up to who you are, it makes it hard. It makes it hard to have any judgment on them, because they're doing the best they freaking can with those thoughts. I mean, the best they can. And when you look at people like that, you can't help but to love them. And I say this even to the, and I say it out loud, even to be called on it when I don't express it or demonstrate it, even to the supremist, whatever you want to add before it. He or she is just doing the best with their thinking. Whichever side you're on, if you're on the us or you're on the them, if you're on one side, the other side is only doing the very best they can with their thinking. And when you look at all of us like that, as just human beings, man, I can't help but to do nothing but love you. I don't have to agree with you. Like it doesn't compromise me to have compassion for you. But man, I don't want to fight you. I just want to kind of like hug you. I just want to kind of like, just be with you in hopes that you can see you, not me, see you.
The biggest conflict I've had, Rob, because I'm fairly new to it all, is the fear that I'm going to change as a person. But it's going to change me as a person, but it's not going to change me the core of who I was or who I am. It's just going to bring that more to the forefront, Yeah. So rather than hiding behind the angry, want to fight everybody or get angry at somebody if they look at you the wrong way, or it brings that love out. It is weird, and I found myself getting really emotional about really stupid things. just daft things. Like if somebody achieves something on a TV program, I'm sitting there like, oh no, they've done so well, or like I was watching. I'm writing to my rugby league and the Challenge Cup final when they pick the trophy up. You're like all the hard work they've put in to get that, and sitting there like, oh. It was always there, but you're hiding. So
that's the moment when you see it.
Yeah.
When you've pulled something from the formless and see it in form now. Is when you recognize. I say when I break out into tears, I tell people don't stop. Like, don't stop what you're doing, because I'll break out in anywhere. I can be in the middle of a basketball game talking shit. It's like, I'm about to give you this. I can be anywhere and cry. But crying to me reflects that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like wherever I am is right where I'm supposed to be. Experiencing it the way that I'm seeing. And if it's one I don't like, I need to see it a little bit more clear. And if it's one I like, I'm like, woohoo, Yeah. Even the other day, I had a shitty Monday. Very shitty. Oh, can I say shitty? Can I, Dave? I'm sorry. Give me thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I had a very shitty Monday. And again, because I now am not scared either way of how this thing goes, it was like, oh, that was a super cool shitty day. Like, that was a shitty of the shittiest. Like, when I go to the book to put them over in chapter of shitty days, this is probably going to go first. Right? But that was it. It didn't have any more, it wasn't anything else after that. Just shitty. Like, and on to the next part of the experience, And then I started laughing about how shitty it was. Then I was like, well, is it still shitty if you're laughing at it now? So, yeah. That's again, for me, what this second chance has done. It just, man, makes this thing so fluid for me to enjoy and love. All right, we're quiet. I'm going to start. Oh!
Bill's got his hand up.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute, Dr. Fetty. You gotta chat me first before you put your hand up. Now you gotta give me a bit of. Go ahead, sir. I'll stop. Go ahead. You're muted, sir. I can't hear you.
Bill, you're on mute.
Yeah, no, Rob, this is the first time I've really heard you speak, and I'm just deeply touched. That's most of what I want to say, is that I'm just deeply touched. And your idea of a second chance, for me, I literally see that every moment of my life is a second chance. You know, I can always go back and try to make amends or say I'm sorry or whatever, but I can't change. Once I burn the cookie's burnt. I can make new cookies. And
Yeah.
but every moment of life is a second chance. And the other story you're talking about the road, I don't know if you've ever heard me tell about my father. I'll do it very quickly because it's your time. About my father who used to have road rage.
No, no.
And he was coming to my courses in the evening with he and my mom were there, and they would go down and see my brother. And from Bradenton to Sarasota, they drive through. And I'm not even going to ask permission. I'll get chastised, but they drive through about 25 sons of bitches on the road on the way down and 25 sons of bitches on the way back.
Gotcha.
And there were people that tailgated or turned without signaling, all those things, right? So I came home this one day and I said, Mom, how was the trip to see my brother, John, who was an optometrist down in Sarasota? And she said, it was wonderful. We had a wonderful time. And we had about 14 E's in it. And she said, Bill, there was no sons of bitches. There was no SOBs on the road today. I said, Mom, I know that road. It's full of them. She said, no, you asked your father. So I went over and Dad was reading the newspaper and I said, Dad, what's this about? I said, how was your trip to see Johnny? He said they'd been making that trip, Rob, for 6 months on Wednesdays. He said, I never realized how beautiful the scenery was on that ride down to Sarasota.
Wow.
It was beautiful. And I said, yeah, okay, I'm glad for that. But what about no SOBs? And he got real quiet. And I think it was the closest he came to really thanking me. Although we got a beautiful relationship, but he said, there weren't any today. And then I counted, I said, what about there were 25 of those on the way down back. I said, well, Dad, I thought those were SOBs, And he got real quiet and he said, I didn't see any SOBs today.
Yeah.
Like you. I saw people who were good people who were caught up in their thinking and they weren't driving safely.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart went out to them. I actually said a little prayer that they got home safe without hurting themselves or anyone else.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. Sid used to say, in Sylvia, you were talking about changing. Sid used to say, every time you have an insight, it will appear to you that the external world has changed.
Yeah.
My dad did not get tolerance or ability to cope with sons of bitches on the road. They disappeared from his experience. And anyway, I thought of that when you were talking.
No, I love that story because that's my experience, man. I'm a fighter.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
I'm a fighter. I was born given the fight. Fight the military. That's something they use that little bit of hatred or whatever you want to call it and aimed it and just gave it an enemy. That's honestly what made me successful. That they knew I was sick. That's part of my problem with it because you do all of the what do you call it assessments beforehand to find out where best I'm going to fit. You knew about you knew about all of the problems I had before because it has to be. I have to say it to disclose it before I come in. You know the area I come from.
I was going to say something positive that they also knew, giving a man of color raised in Alabama that had made it the way you'd made it, even at that point, they knew that you were a survivor, and they knew you had a spirit and some there wasn't all negative.
They knew that too.
They knew that they saw the positive.
Yeah.
That for and being an old white man, I have no idea except secondarily, but they knew that there was something you had not ended up being killed in a game.
Yes.
They knew.
Now that's me understanding my story now. You're right.
Right.
I see it now as I don't have me personally.
Right.
Again, just my voice. Right. I don't have stories of trauma. I got stories of resilience. Because I'm here right now. Right. So I've obviously passed them. So I have stories of when I've had bad days, horrible moments, and I just didn't know they were over, if that makes sense. So, it's still the same stories, you know, being shot at, being bombed on, gang members, all that. It's just from the side of, if I'm here to tell it, I've made it through it. That points to wisdom in a sense for me, because everybody did make it through it. Again, I mentioned I've lost friends all the way through all my years. So, no, I love that story too. And I'll tell you later a story when I fell in love with you, sir. It's pretty cool. So I'll tell you, yeah. I see Derek hand. Go ahead, Derek.
Derek, before you jump in, I'm just going to read something out, and then I'll let you go, if that's okay. Rob, there's a message that's been posted for you. It says,
okay.
I listen to your Friday podcasts. I'm actually jealous of your laugh. Your laugh heals a little bit of me every time I hear it. In time, I will hope to be able to call you up and laugh with you as much as you laugh. That will be my milepost. I've got it. I will share who wrote that to you to a little bit later on, as I haven't got permission to, well, I've asked, but haven't got permission yet to say who they are. So
yeah, no problem. To whoever it is, thank you. Because for me, what I learned through my healing process is that laughter is one thing I can only do now. Can't laugh in the past and can't laugh in the future. And so it's why I'm often laughing everywhere I go. You know, it just makes me feel good. Again, and I've laughed in some shitty places. You know, I've been in the bunker. You know, just hearing them go over. It's like you peek out the bunker and it's fire. It's like 4th of July, because we got these weapons at the end of the base that shoot some of this stuff out the sky. So you're like watching stuff explode in the sky, like the best fireworks show you can ask for. Just laughing, like, oh, that's so cool. Like, wait, fool, get back in the bunker. Like, what are you doing? So, yeah, laughter. I love laughing. So thank you for whoever, and hit me up, please do. And whoever said that, please do hit me up.
I'll link you guys up. Cheers, Rob. Sorry, Derek, over to you. Sorry for jumping.
What's up, Derek? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Long time no talk.
I know.
The thing I love about this understanding is the innate capacity we have for an insight and realization.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were talking, and you're talking about the people you're seeing, and you saw the love and the forgiveness, even though they were being jerks and whatever. The thing that came to me is that capacity we have to do that for ourselves. You know, I've beaten myself up for so many years of all the stupidity that I've done to myself, the financial mistakes I've made, the relationships that I blew up, and realizing that I did the best I could do given the thinking at that moment.
Yeah.
And for me, the forgiveness comes from a place now for me is that there isn't anything to forgive, because I am only doing the best I can do.
Yeah.
And no one else can do anything other than the best they can do.
Yeah.
But the ability to have an insight and a realization, they can see, oh, I can do better. But that's what came to me.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I say, I am, and everything after that is part of the illusion. Like everything after that is part of the illusion. I am, and then everything else after that is up for grabs. That's the only part I know is true. I am. Everything else after that is up for grabs. It's up to be toiled. It's up to be challenged. It's up to be thrown. It's up to be, you know. No, man. You love you. Because again, given the insight wakes you up to being able to experience it. Like most people go, I won't say most people. Some people ask me like, Rob, you know, the way you show up with now how you talk about PTSD or race or this is that, like, how do you do it? It's because it really is true from the inside out. And when that hit me, I realized if I didn't truly go inside to see this, it wasn't going to make a difference. Like, so projection So if life works inside out and I'm projecting on neutral situations, then I really must put love in me for that to be an option. Does that make sense? Like when you say forgive yourself. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now that you've forgiven yourself, you're available now to project that on something. So you'll start seeing it. Just you ever heard the car thing? You think about a certain car or buy a new car and now it starts popping up. Yeah, it's there. You forgive you. You let you go, man. You'll start seeing some people. You'll be like, oh my God, I love you. It's crazy. Trust me, it's crazy, man. But no, yeah, it's inside out. And so for me, I tell you, I'm going after bigotry, racism, hatred. I'm going after it all inside me first. And once I root it all out of there, that's gonna give me some tailored plan on how to come out and say it to the world. But right now, I'm just fixing it and digging in me and making sure every blind spot I have, I shine a light on it to ensure that I am including, I am loving, I am whatever. Because I know we're all the same. I know me and you are the same, Derek, regardless of what the skin complexion we may have. I know we're the same. And if ever I forget that and ever want to talk shit to you, I'll get reminded of it. And I'm going to come hug you, you know? Like, that's how this works. For me, in my experience. Thank you, Derek. Who else? Mr. Major Gallup.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, sir, how you doing?
Good. Good to finally meet you in person at this point. Been kind of tracking you for a while, and yeah, I love the work you're doing out in the world, and being able to bring people to this understanding, especially, the brothers and sisters that, they're basically out there suffering and they don't know what they don't know. Yeah. And so I love I love hearing your story, your background. And I'm just curious about when you're seeing yourself talking to veterans, and especially I'm discovering that we've all got these huge stories about the PTS, which really means something did happen.
Yes.
Yes, something did happen. But then we put a story on top of it, and then it kind of collapses, and it's kind of running everything for us.
Yeah.
What are you finding as something that's really, it's something you've been found is beneficial to be able to help these men and women kind of stop in a moment to catch themselves catching themselves, or see the insight as you continue to speak about it?
I guess part of it is understanding the narrative they're caught up in. Mm-hmm. So, I know it's heavily frowned upon to say you're having mental problems while serving. I know off record it affects you promotionally if you go see the doc. I know these underpinning rules that they are having to live by that's not being said abroad. So it's kind of like a piece of the story, having experienced it before and lived it, that we kind of can settle in that space of, I hear what you're saying, because I know you can't say that out loud in that sense. So there's a piece of that. But the other part is always trying to get underneath the story in a sense. Mm-hmm. Underneath the need to have the story. For me, what I say is Uncle Sam gave me my identity. Like from 19 or 18 and a half to 19 when I entered to 39-ish, 30, that was who I thought I was at the base level. So when you go challenging that, I understand that I can't do that, like that. It's kind of like that if I was going to run in the room and wake you up. We late now. We are late to the party, but I know if I wake you up violently, you're going to wake up ready to action. So I'm like, Major G, come on. Wake up, Major G. Major G, come on, get up, man. We got to hurry up and get dressed. Like, Major G. And you're like, okay. You sit on the edge of the bed for a minute. You kind of shake. Mm-hmm. And then you make sense of what's in front of us. and training kicks in after that. You fall in. So it's just always for me, just level it enough for it to get quiet.
Yeah.
And that's having to get underneath the story. Sometimes getting underneath the story, maybe going through it. So I'll hear a few explosion stories, but I ain't gonna do too many of them. Like we can't do too many explosion stories. They're just explosion stories. Like you just feel defeated after, you know, seeing body parts and this. So I get that part. But yeah, I just try to get underneath the story with them, and love them, and remove some of the stigmas. Because if I could do that part, then I know if they drop those, that puts them in a clearer state. And I know what happens when people have clarity. So I don't have to I don't have to get in their day-to-day lives for it. I just got to get them to settle. And by understanding this, I know that's going to have a ripple effect. So that's all I bloom where I'm planted. Like that's the only little lane I got. I'm just going to stay there. And then it'll ripple effect.
Yeah.
They'll run into you. They'll run into Dr. Peckett. They'll run into Dave. They'll run into Judy, and it'll keep going, you know. That's how I see it, sir.
Appreciate that, Rob. I really, so thank you for what you're doing out there in the world, and really proud of you for what you got going, and
I appreciate that.
Conversations too.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Alex.
We'll take one more. We've got Alex with his hand up, so we'll do Alex quickly.
So I was also very deeply touched by most of what you've been saying. And what really hit me was when you said, like a bad story from the past is basically proof of resilience, right? Because you're there to tell it. And I grew up in a family where everyone was talking about fleeing from the war and stuff, and didn't have anything to eat. And what they're making out of it is a weakness. So they're constantly talking about like they're having greedy things going on and like conserving money and stuff, even though they don't need to, and living worse life than they have to, because they see it as a weakness, because they think they were hurt as a child or something. And actually, they could have as well just see it as a part of them as a strength, you know, because they survived that. And to me, this was like so arbitrary how you see that, right? Like, you can see it either way. Why would you choose the one where you feel like crap? So thanks a lot.
No, I love that. This famous Bohemian evangelist named Miles Monroe used to say, when the purpose of something is misunderstood, abuse is inevitable. And if you remember back to at the beginning of this, I said my biggest limiting factor was the misunderstanding of who I was. And that allowed me to abuse myself in a series of ways. Again, back to see it saying needless, pointing me to it was optional. Like it's all like the domino effect from that missing link we're talking about. You know? Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, man. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Thanks, Rob. You know, hopefully people are starting to see the simplicity behind all of the conversations that we've been having, and while everybody's got a slightly different way of explaining it, it's all pointing in the same direction, and that
absolutely
to the love that we all are to start off with, and the fact that we are completely whole and not broken. And you've brought that to, you know, really to life for us, Rob. So thank you so much indeed. Right, we've got we'll take a quick 12-minute break before the next session, which will be Brad at 2000 hours UK time. So we'll see you in 12 minutes. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank y'all for having me. I love y'all. Hey, Judy.